What's going on, Bama fans? It's Rico Scott, a receiver here at the University of Alabama, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition. Unmatched on-track intensity. And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Throw in a can't-miss concert, camping, and the legendary atmosphere of Talladega Boulevard. And you've got more than a race. You've got Talladega. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you in Tuscaloosa at our studio and with this board presented by RJ Young, a smart board to go through all of the headlines, plus what is coming up on the show. RJ Young, the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. First of all, we'll look back to a fun night in Athens. Crimson Tide picking up a 3-point win against the Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday. We'll take a look first at the booth cam highlights presented by Regions Bank. Then we'll have a one-on-one conversation with Rico Scott, Crimson Tide wide receiver. He'll be talking about his journey to Alabama and what's led to success for him on the field so far this season. Then a quick Hey Coach preview and a look forward to the Vanderbilt game with Chris Stewart, plus his thoughts on Alabama's win against Georgia. And then we'll have our Alabama Legends segment this week with a College Football Hall of Famer, E.J. Jr., a former defensive end for the Crimson Tide. He'll talk about his 2 national championships and playing for Coach Bryant here at the Capstone. And they will close out the show with Be Kind, Crimson Tide Rewind. We had a fun edition last night, Crimson Tide Rewind at Baumhauer's in Vestavia Hills, so you'll get all the thoughts from Tyler Watts after Alabama picked up that win against Georgia. Speaking of Crimson Tide football, again, an impressive win. 10th in the last 11 meetings against Georgia. 24-21 ended up being the final score. Obviously, a great game for Ty Simpson. He was named the SEC Co-Offensive Player of the Week, and Caden Proctor was named the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. Certainly impressive what he did, not just on the line, but even lined up out wide as a wide receiver on that lateral pass. Great work by Caden Proctor. Great work just in general by this Crimson Tide football team to start 1-0 in SEC play. Next up, it's Saturday. It is the Vanderbilt Commodores coming up here in Tuscaloosa. 2:30 will be the kickoff. 11:30 we will start our radio coverage on the network outside at Vector Security Champions Lane. That is going to be a jam-packed Champions Lane coming up on Saturday with a pregame concert by Uncle Cracker. It's post our show on stage at the Bud Light Backyard. We'll talk more about that on Thursday, but again, make plans to be out with us at Vector Security Champions Lane coming up on Saturday before Alabama against Vanderbilt. And even in the morning, you can check out ESPN's College Game Day coming to Tuscaloosa. Look forward to welcoming back Coach Saban, Reese Davis, and all their friends, and all the fun they're going to have coming up on Saturday. Crimson Tide soccer team this past week. Tough Friday night for both Alabama soccer and volleyball. The Crimson Tide soccer team fell 2-1 at Kentucky. A goal in that match by Nadia Ramadan. Coming up on Thursday, they'll be home against the Oklahoma Sooners at 7 p.m. at the Alabama Soccer Stadium. Meanwhile, for the volleyball team, started SEC play also with a tough one on Friday, getting swept by the Auburn Tigers. This Friday, they will be in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. So best of luck to Alabama volleyball and soccer coming up this week. Crimson Tide football team, again, impressive picking up that win against the Georgia Bulldogs. We always have our booth cam streaming live on all of our social media platforms presented by Regions Bank. And here are the best moments from Alabama's win at Georgia.
Alabama to kick it off. Connor Talty to handle that responsibility as this one is booted into the air. It'll sail towards the end zone and through it. That is indeed a touchback. One of 3 men wide right, including the tight end, Josh Cuevas. 1 wide out left. Now Bernard will go right. They'll swing it out to him to try to set up the screen. He makes a man miss. He cuts it inside the 20, 15, 10, still on his feet and down to the 6-yard line. Jeremy Bernard able to make the play. Another bank first down. Ryan Williams and Rico Scott, the 2 receivers out there that did their job, along with the tight end, Josh Cuevas. Brings Jeremy in motion to the near side, leaving 2 to his right. Looking, firing, caught, touchdown! Jeremy Bernard on the slant, and Alabama gets on the board first.
Too easy for Jeremy Bernard. He comes in motion. He's got man-to-man coverage against Ellison Robinson, the cornerback, but he gives Bernard a little bit too much cushion. A nice move, breaks it off on a slant route, wide open.
Ty gets the snap. Looking, stepping up in the pocket, firing, catch is made, first down. Josh Cuevas, the tight end, Simpson operating under center Brailsford. Play action, rolls the pocket right. Looking, firing, caught. Touchdown, Alabama. Isaiah Horton, wide open, back of the end zone. The second 6-yard touchdown pass of the night from Ty Simpson, and the Tide leads it 13-0. On second down and 9, they'll hand it off again. Ball's on the deck, recovered by Alabama. The Tide came up with a loose football, and the Crimson Tide on the takeaway by Deontay Lawson. Bray Hubbard delivered the hit that knocked it loose, and the Tide takes it over deep in dog territory.
Boy, Bray Hubbard looked like a middle linebacker from the 1980s, stepping into the hole, lowering his shoulder, making contact directly on the ball, jarring it loose, upending the running back. No doubt that it was a fumble. And there's Deontay Lawson able to recover it.
From the middle of the field, a 24-yard field goal try from Connor Talty, 3 of 4 on the year. Placement is good after a good snap, and the kick is perfect as well. And Bama gets 3. Simpson gets the snap, looking, firing, screen across the middle. Brooks spinning away from a man, still on his feet. Latsier Brooks, 30. Latsier, 25, and swung out of bounds near the 20-yard line. Stop the clock with 53 seconds remaining in the first half. Move the 6 again on another bank first down. As Simpson works under center, gets the snap. They set up her screen to the big fella, Proctor. Caden 5. Caden pushing forward, and Caden out of bounds. Dear Lord, at the 3. That was not an earthquake. That was Caden Proctor catching it left side and getting down to the 2-yard line. A 10-yard catch and rumble from the big fella. Sweet Lord. First and goal from the 2. Bernard and Miller in the backfield. Strong side right. Rolling, looking. Simpson will run it himself, and he will walk in. Touchdown, Alabama. And do they use the timeout? They do not. And we're going to head to the locker room with Bama enjoying a 24-14 lead. He's got Horton in motion at 2, gets the snap. Simpson looking, firing, slant, catch made. First down, Bama at the 25 of the Bulldogs. The tight end, Caleb Edwards across the middle. Stockton keeps it himself, trying to get to the edge, tries to cut it back. Goes forward. He's going to be close to the first down, but I think he's going to be a foot, maybe even a yard shy.
I think it's a full yard.
Yeah, decision time for Kirby Smart. They'll hand it off. They'll try to get to the edge, and he's down. He's down at the 13-yard line. LT Overton with the stop. Bama forces a loss, and it's a takeaway on downs by the Bama D. Georgia gambles, and they lose the handoff to Cash Jones. No change, no money. Bama gets the football. Bama only one of its last 4 on third downs after going 9 of its first 11 in the game. Third down and 8. We got to get to the 21. In motion, Bernard to the left side. Simpson gets the snap, firing. He's got Jeremy, he's got the catch, and he's got a first down. Check it. It's Ryan Williams. It was number 2, not number 5. Everett makes the stop, but not until Bama gets a big bank first down there. Simpson from the pistol gets the snap. Play action, looking, firing across the middle, caught. Catch is made. That's Isaiah Horton, and that's a bank first down right around the Alabama 45.
Clean pocket once again. Georgia brings 4. Plenty of time for Ty Simpson to step into this ball and deliver a strike.
Corey, what a grab, what a call.
Absolutely. Great route by Isaiah Horton. Run that dig from the outside position. Taking advantage of this soft zone coverage. These guys were just backpedaling, trying to keep everything in front of them. Great job finding the hole in that zone defense.
Boy, what a throw from Ty. Thread the needle. And Blake gets this one away, pooches it towards the corner. It will hit inside the 10, and it'll be down at the 5. Latsier Brooks down there to field it on a hop. And how about Blake down in the job he has done here in the second half? Third down and 9 upcoming with 3:38 to go. They swing it out, flag on the play. Georgia completes it, but Bama wraps it up. Cash Jones made the grab, but Bama had about 2 or 3 defenders on that side. Let's see what the flag is. It was an initial flag thrown.
Illegal shift, offense. 2 players were moving at the same time and never got set for a second. That penalty's declined. 4th down.
4th down. And let's see what they have to go with.
They'll punt it. They've got the 3 timeouts, so they're going to play the clock here thinking they're going to get the ball back. So it comes down to this Alabama offense, who in the second half really has moved the ball but not put any points on. How can they put first downs together and run this clock out?
Simpson will send Williams in motion to the right. He'll go with a straight handoff to Jam. He'll barrel forward. He'll get 7, maybe 8 yards on first down. Clock runs with 3:10 to go. Williams and Bama's going to bunch everybody in and go under center. Jam is back there. Simpson brings a man in motion. He'll get the snap. He'll dive forward. And I think he got enough. Bama's still pushing that pile. And I think they got it. A flag comes in late. Let's see who they're going to call the penalty on.
The result of the play is a first down. After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 1. 15 yards will be added. Wow. First down.
Ellis Robinson the 4th with a huge penalty there. 3rd and 5. Simpson from the pistol. He'll bring Bernard to the left side as well, putting 3 men there. Rolls left, looks back right. He's got a man catch made. Sliding down after making the first down grab is Jam Miller. Move the sticks. A bank first down, and ball game Bama in all likelihood.
Boy, talk about a gutsy call here. It's a play action to Jam Miller and then a bootleg right back to him. He absolutely gets lost by the middle linebacker, C.J. Allen, who thinks it's going to be a play action to the left side. Instead, Jam Miller slips out to the right side, catches the ball, and goes down to the turf. That's going to do it, baby.
Another snap, another knee, and Kalen DeBoer and his squad will head to the other sideline to shake hands. They say every dog has its day, but for the 10th time in 11 meetings, it ain't going to be this one as Alabama beats Georgia again. 24-21 is your final. And if you can hear it over people leaving the stadium, give them a little ramajama across the way. An unbelievable effort from the Crimson Tide as they find a way to get it done on the road against a top 5 team.
Always fun playing Georgia. I tell you what, we were aggressive from the start of this game all the way to the last play with Jam Miller securing the win. Ty Simpson, outstanding job. We got 1 turnover, turned it into points. We didn't turn the ball over at all. It ended up being a difference. And I tell you what, we gave up some big plays defensively, but, man, when we needed stops there in the 3rd and 4th quarter, this defense answered and was able to turn over the Georgia Bulldogs.
Victory formation in Sanford Stadium. A beautiful thing from the Crimson Tide. They win it 24-21.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition, and triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
One of the playmakers from the Saturday win at Georgia, Rico Scott, joins us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, in an interview recorded at the LLH Advantage Center here on campus at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. He talks about his journey to Alabama, plus what it's been like for he and his teammates on the offense for the Crimson Tide in 2025. Here's a one-on-one conversation with Rico Scott. Roll Tide and welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover with you from the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center inside Saban Field. Now, please be joined by Alabama wide receiver Rico Scott as we're getting towards the midway point of the season. And Rico, Roll Tide, have you enjoyed this season?
Roll Tide, Roger. Appreciate you for having me. This season didn't start out how we wanted to go, but we're just taking it day by day, just learning from the day before.
And that's great to see. And we've seen a good response from this football team. What do you think led to the good response after the Florida State game?
I would just say an evaluation of everyone, as we have a game and then go over film, coach talks about being critical of yourself. So, just it's never really passing anything up as far as watching your game and just improving from what you see, even in practice to the game film, even walkthroughs when we don't have any pads on and we're just simply running base down stuff. You can learn from everything.
How do you feel like you've improved this year and gotten into the mix a little bit more?
I feel like I've gotten way better at just preparing. Last year I sat behind Germ, K-Law, Ryan, guys like E-Man, and I was a freshman. I really didn't know how to prepare until I got a whole off season here with the strength staff, the coaches. I got to see what the spring was like. That was my first spring because I was a summer enrollee. So I would just say I got way better at preparing and just being relaxed, being ready for the game.
And was it nice too? I know Florida State game didn't go as we wanted, but you still were able to get on the field right away and scored a touchdown in that ball game. How meaningful was that to have a good start to the season like that?
Yeah, I was thankful for the opportunity. We got a loaded receiver room, and really, I was talking to Ha after the game. He was saying, man, any day you get to go out there and play and walk off the field, it's a blessing because a lot of guys don't get to do that. Injuries are random and sometimes they're permanent.
And for you, you got to play at a high level. I've seen that continue throughout this year. It seems like pretty good connection between Ty Simpson and you. Can you tell us about some of the work you've done, maybe away even from the practice field, to make sure you're on the same page?
Yeah, Ty's been great. All three quarterbacks, really. As far as the quarterback and receiver room, we've kind of been getting together every week since January, and it's just continued to build. You see, like Saturday, the type of things that Ty brings to the table.
And we also see it with Austin Mack, Keelan Russell, and he got to play. Is it exciting to see them get some opportunities to play and show Alabama fans what they can do?
Yeah, it's exciting because you see it in practice, but it's like, quarterback, usually one guy plays. So it was like, for me, I was here with Mack last year, but then seeing Keelan, like when he threw that first touchdown, like it put a smile on my face for sure.
And what did Ty do to really earn the job, in your opinion? Because you got to see all of it throughout preseason camp.
Ty just does a great job at taking care of the ball. He's a great leader. He's a guy where, it was the fourth quarter of the Florida State game. We had to get a first down or whatever. He's coming in the huddle. He's like, guys, that's what we want. This is what we've been waiting for. Like, he just keeps the energy up at all times.
Well, you're part of a very talented wide receiver room. Tell us about some of the different personalities there. And then do you like the fact, too, it seems like you guys have such different styles of play that all blend together pretty well.
I think that's the best part of the room is we have every type of receiver, even though we're players playing together, we learn from each other, just film and in practice. Like, if one guy's doing something great, it's like, okay, maybe I can add this to my game, da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, we just have every type of receiver, and we're a pretty tight room, like, we all understand that. Pretty much everybody could be playing anywhere in the country right now, but we all chose to come here.
And you're playing at a high level for Alabama. Let's talk about a few of your teammates. First of all, Isaiah Horton, what's he brought to this team?
Man, Zay, there's not a lot of guys in this league that are like him. He's 6'4", runs 22 miles an hour, strong hands, smart, smooth route runner. Like, he brings an element that a lot of guys can't bring to the offense.
Ryan Williams.
Man, Ryan, you see it. Like, even though people had whatever they had to say about the first game, man, he's a leader as well. Yeah, he's not technically a captain, but he's the guy in practice that's like, come on, guys, you got to have a good day. Like, after every play, he's like, let's keep it up. Let's not, get lackadaisical because it's a long practice or whatever. And he's the guy who makes sure we don't fall off anything. We just stay sharp throughout practice.
And then one guy we keep hearing about as a leader on this team, Jeremy Bernard.
Yeah, Jeremy's been great. Since I got here, I've learned from him. We talk all the time just about the game in general. Like, he's definitely a pro. Like, the way he approaches the game, every play, like, he never lets a play go to waste.
And then somebody that our fans may haven't seen in games too much, but around this program, I know is a huge part of what you all do. Jalen Hale, especially coming back from his injury. How meaningful is it to see him healthy this year?
Yeah, Jalen is great. I was just talking about Shep about him the other day. Like, he's a great player. Like, guys got to see what he could do his freshman year when he got the opportunity. He's coming off a bad injury, but he's responded well, man. He works hard every day. Like, he's always asking questions. He's a great guy to have on the team.
And you mentioned Coach Shepard. What kind of leader is he for that wide receiver room, both on the practice field and all the meetings you guys have to do? You guys are around each other a bunch, but
Yeah.
how does Shep keep you motivated?
Shep is great at teaching you the game. You know, like, yeah, he's a receiver coach. He's going to teach you about receivers and how to run this route versus this coverage or how to point out this coverage. But he teaches us ball. Like, he'll teach us fronts, tendencies. You know, he'll go through the reads, like for each play. Like, okay, this is the first read on this play. Usually the quarterback's going to look for this versus this coverage, or if the nickel rolls down this side, like this is where we're going to check to. Da da da.
How about life too? I mean, a lot of stuff away from the field with him.
Yeah, I mean, we often like we bring God into our room. You know, we talk about the Bible, just life in general, and how it's relating to certain situations. And we have this thing called Faith Family Football where we'll start out with the Bible verse, talk about it, and then like one of us it'll have pictures of our family, and we'll just kind of explain our family and let them know who's who, and just give the rundown, just talk a little bit more about ourselves.
That's really good. That allows you really to connect with your teammates in a different way. And for you, I imagine just share your story and let's go all the way to the beginning. First of all, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
What got you into football?
It's weird because my first year playing football, I was 6 and I didn't like it. I quit. And then, like, kind of that offseason, I told my dad, like, I want to play again. He's like, okay, you can't quit this year. Like, you got to play. So, I mean, I've loved it ever since. And I'm thankful that God has given me the opportunity to play the game because it really, like, I was just talking to Shep about this the other day. Like, the things we go through as a college football player mentally more than physically is it. Like, the mental piece is just such a huge part of the game. And at the end of the day, whatever you're going through, good or bad, like, I told him, like, I prayed for this, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I never thought I would be at Alabama. Even when I got the offer, I just never thought I would end up here, but I did. And I'm glad God put me here. And, you know, I prayed to be a college football player, so I got to take advantage.
Always wide receiver for you? Any other spots on the field?
No. So when my first year playing, I played running back. Then I quit. Then the next year I played quarterback. But most of Little League, I played running back. I mean, I played a little bit of receiver in 8th grade. 9th grade, I played running back. And then sophomore year, I switched to receiver. Been a receiver ever since.
Who were some of the coaches that helped you the most during those times?
You said what, like high
Yeah,
school?
and your high school coaches, yeah.
High school.
Yeah.
Coach Weck, Coach Danny Lansana, he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a couple years. He was a linebacker. He was our DC when I was there. Coach Alex Marsico, he was my receiver coach when I was at McDevitt.
Did you like some of the attention you were starting to receive in recruiting?
Yeah, it was weird because, like, the recruiting process for me, it was a good experience, but I kind of I tried to block out distractions as much as I could. So, I mean, I went on visits, but it wasn't a whole lot.
When did you first hear from Alabama?
First heard from Alabama spring of 2022. Bill O'Brien came to my practice to watch me and my quarterback, Stone. He's at Kentucky right now. He's a freshman this year. He told us to come to the camp. I came to the camp in June, got offered. Coach Wiggins reached out that winter, and we kind of reconnected. I came back the spring 2023, committed, and been committed ever since.
Came down here for camp. What kind of impression did this campus have on you and just being around the Alabama football program?
When I first got here, I didn't really like it. Like, I'm from East Coast, so I'd never been, like, deep down south. I've been to Texas and stuff, but this is different. Like, it's a different lifestyle down here. So, I mean, it was different for me, a good experience. It was really hot. I was struggling with the heat. I mean, it was probably about 11 receivers down there because we had, like, indie work with Coach Wiggins. So, man, we were all hot, tired, ready to go. But it was a great experience. I'm glad I got to come down here and do it.
So were you thinking like SEC schools when you're going through recruitment, or how did this really get to the point where you said, all right, I can deal with the heat. I can come down to Alabama and play football? So
originally my dream school was Ohio State. And then being from Pennsylvania, it might seem weird to a lot of people, but yeah, I mean, that's where I wanted to go. I didn't get the opportunity to go there. So after that, I pretty much was like, I think I'm going to end up going SEC. And
then what swayed you to Alabama?
I mean, Saban. It was just the history of receivers here. I mean, Coach Wiggins and I had a great relationship. I had a great relationship with guys that were already on the team when I was in high school, coming on visits, getting to meet the players that were there.
What'd you like about getting to be around Coach Saban in the recruiting process?
I mean, Saban was just something about him is like I truly did take something away from each conversation. I mean, he just came and talked to us last week of fall camp, and I mean, obviously no one's going to be talking while he's talking, but you could tell people are listening. You know what I mean? Like we might have people come in to talk and everybody might not be as engaged, but when he talks, you listen.
Absolutely. And you got to be around him again, what turns out to be his final time as the head coach of the Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer comes in. What stood out to you about Coach DeBoer and his new staff?
Coach DeBoer, I honestly feel like even him being a coach, like I can just see him getting better as a coach. You know what I mean? He's creating new relationships with players every day. Like he's done a great job at transitioning because it's hard for him too. I mean, he's coming to a new school, new league. You know what I mean? High expectations coming from Coach Saban. I got a lot of respect for DeBoer.
Did it excite you seeing what Washington wide receivers are able to do in that offense?
Yeah, it did. It was weird because my senior year, I paid a lot of attention to Washington because they were good, obviously. But the offense, I mean, it's great. Any receiver would want to play here in this offense.
Yeah, what's the role of the receiver in this offense, you feel like, if you had to define it for a fan?
Man, you just got to be reliable because I honestly feel like the offense flows through the receivers. Yeah, I mean, I believe in any team, the run game opens up the pass, but here it seems like the pass opens up everything. Like you, as a receiver, you just got to be ready every play. You got to run your route like you're getting the ball, no matter where you are in the read. If you're the boundary to the field, you just got to be ready.
How have you seen the tight ends get involved too in the passing game?
Tight ends have been great because tight end is a position where I feel like you have to do everything. You got to run routes, you got to block, you got to catch the ball. Like getting them more involved is something that Grubb has been trying to do. You know what I mean? Because like you said, we got a loaded receiver room. We throw to the running back sometimes. Like it's a lot of mouths to feed, but we've been doing a great job of distributing the football.
That's really great to see. And again, you've had a larger role this season for the Crimson Tide. Have you enjoyed getting to fan interaction some? People maybe notice you around town a little bit more than before?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, like the amount of people that have come up. It hasn't been a bunch, but even just some people coming up like, oh, are you Rico, da-da-da. I'm like, how do you know me?
They're fans. Yeah, they've been following you for a while. What's game day like here? What do you enjoy most about getting ready for Saturdays in Tuscaloosa?
Game day is exciting. I mean, our fans are wild. You know, they love Alabama football just as much as we do playing for this team. So it's great. You know, I like away games too just because it's a different environment, different experience. But home games they're comforting.
Well, tell us about Rico Scott away from football. What do you like to do?
I love music. Music, video games. I actually love fishing, but I haven't been in a while just because, you know, we're so busy all the time. But, yeah, I mean, I have a bad addiction with ice cream. Ice cream, yeah. I'm trying to keep it controlled, but it's just hard sometimes. I mean,
especially during the season, you got to cut it out.
Especially during the season, yeah.
You have a favorite spot in town, anywhere you go?
Yeah, it's a new spot. The Parlor. It's right next to Chuck's.
Okay.
I think that's the best ice cream I've had since I've been here.
Well, we're going to work on an NIL deal for you with them.
Parlor. If you're watching this.
Give them a call.
Yeah.
As we let you go, what's this group capable of? What are we going to see from Alabama football in the next few weeks?
Physicality. You know, it's a relentless pursuit of continuous improvement with this team. I mean, that's what we preach every day. And I really feel like I know there are a lot of guys on this team that come in every day and give their best. So when you're on the team and you see guys like Deontay Lawson, Jeremy Bernard, Parker Barrelsford, Ty Simpson, guys who are coming in and truly giving their best every day, you have to give the same in return.
We look forward to seeing the best from Rico Scott moving forward. Just thank you for the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. All the best this season. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Chris Stewart's been saying the name Rico Scott a lot this season as the play-by-play voice of Alabama football, and he joins us, as he always does, on Tuesday to break down the game we just saw, Alabama against Georgia, and look ahead to the Crimson Tide and the Vanderbilt Commodores coming up on Saturday, plus preview tomorrow night's edition of Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show. Here's the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart.
Chris, I want to preview everything coming up, but we have to take a look back to Saturday in Athens. What a special night that turned out to be for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, please let me, because it was fun. Sometimes you want to just move on. This is one of those that I observe the 24-hour rule a little bit differently. 4 hours on 4 to probably more like 8 hours on Sunday, 4 on Monday, and space out whatever you can to milk it throughout the course of the week. But yeah, there's no doubt there's a tough opponent coming, but there's no doubt there's another great win over Georgia in the rearview mirror. But we're going to keep glancing at that just a little bit for the next day or two from our perspective because it was so meaningful.
How impressive was it just the start to the game Alabama had? The defense did its job getting that 3-and-out, and then the offense goes on a 6.5-minute drive, 74 yards. Ty Simpson looked in control really from the jump in this ball game.
There are two pieces of that, Roger, that I thought were huge for the game. Number one, it's that fine line. I say never, you often don't want to leave timeouts because they don't carry over. At the same time, you kind of hate to burn them early. And I'm not saying we went all in on the first drive, but we went all in on the first drive. And you used 2 timeouts there early in the drive, somewhere around the 5th play. I don't remember exactly when it was, but you got a sure touchdown. I mean, a perfect deep ball to Ryan Williams. There's nobody within 2 steps of him. And 2 steps, it may as well be 200. You're not going to catch him. But he didn't catch the ball. And for a lot of teams where there's a one chance opportunity, and Georgia's one of those teams where often it can feel like you're only going to get one chance. To miss it right there, a lot of teams would have gone, oh, there goes the opportunity. And I probably was guilty of feeling that in the booth. But to have that, in essence, come off the board and then to continue the drive and have it go another 8 to 10 plays, whatever it was, and to finish it the way you did, that almost, look, you wouldn't ask for it in the moment, but it almost, I thought, worked to Bama's benefit because it sent a message to Georgia that we're not going away, that we can do more than beat you with the quick strike. And I thought really, really set tempo. And then you follow that up with another score to get it to 14-0. And you could, I referenced Larry Munson a great deal over the course of the weekend, and the greats certainly deserve that. But there was a lot of nausea rolling throughout Sanford Stadium when it got to 14-0 because you could tell they knew there was a lot of football left, and we knew it too. But there was definitely a good bit of, oh man, here we go again.
Absolutely. Well, for Alabama to get its 3rd touchdown of the night in the red zone, it was set up beautifully by one pass. It was Ty Simpson to Caden Proctor, took it 11 yards, nearly got that touchdown. Just walk us through that play. When did you first notice number 74 that wide and ready to go with the football?
Didn't have it on my bingo card going into the game, I'll tell you that. They kind of used him as a decoy earlier. And just from a broadcast standpoint, I made the mistake of getting too focused through the binoculars because that ball, that play, as you know, was on the other end of the stadium. And my full range of view, I didn't notice that we had a dump truck out there on the far end, or a bulldozer, I guess, would have been more appropriate to use in Caden's case with this. So I just thought we had 3 wide by the time when we brought the guy in motion. I think it was Jeremy who went over there. But regardless of who it was, I didn't quite catch it through the frame of the binoculars until I looked over and I went, oh, okay, that's a larger individual than normal. And just, in your mind, you're processing, okay, that's a tackle that just caught the ball. Okay, I'm thinking, dear Lord, don't fumble. Because a lot of bad stuff can happen when somebody who's not used to carrying the football is carrying it, especially in the open field. But he's just knocking people left and right. And, man, I wish he had caught the pass initially a yard closer back towards the field of play. Because yes, they got him down, but I think it was just trying to push that thing out of traffic, and they got him out of bounds. It's a shame he didn't get the touchdown. The big boy touchdown is, I think we call it with those guys. But it did. It was another thing that sent a message because you've done things. I thought we ran it for Alabama. We ran it the way we needed to. That's the reality of it. In that play there, that's an extended handoff. Yes, it's a pass, but it's not a downfield strike. In fact, it's a lateral to him. It had to be. Going under center is the only way that's a legal play, because if they go from pistol and throw that, it's a forward pass, and he would not have been an eligible receiver. So technically, that was not a completion. That was a run. At least that's the way it'll. I think it went on the stat sheet. Should have. So that even furthers my point about it being an extended handoff. And there are a lot of plays like that, Roger, that Alabama had in the game. So you talk about the traditional run, the straight handoff, toss sweep, whatever. Did we have a ton of yards in that regard? No. But plays that are the equivalent and not downfield throws, but are basically run principles, I think, or designed to give you what a run would do. We had a bunch of those, but none bigger for multiple reasons than what Caden delivered in there. I don't think we'll see him in punt returns anytime soon, but he did a heck of a job when called on as the receiver.
Yeah, such a fun play. And is that just an example of what we also saw in the ball game as well? Some ingenious blocking schemes Alabama had. Is this just kind of show the mind that Ryan Grubb has and how inventive he can be in game?
Both that and Coach DeBoer, because they're pretty much in step. Coach Grubb is obviously the play caller, but you don't make that call without the approval earlier in the week from the boss. And so I think the timing, the execution, again, the way it was set up, I don't think they anticipated at all that ball was going to be thrown to him. I think that's part of why they were late reacting, to get over there. Not that they necessarily could have changed it and negated the play otherwise, but I really don't think they thought that ball was going to go directly to him. And thankfully it did. Thankfully it worked. But yes, I do think you're going to see more. Maybe not. Well, think about the others. How many times Jeremy Bernard threw a pass, didn't he, or was about to?
He did
at least
throw a pass,
on one
4-yard
occasion.
Completion.
Yeah, maybe twice, because there was another time I think he had that option. We saw Jeremy line up in the backfield and carry the ball. We saw him line up and then option out and then get it flipped to him. There are all sorts of things that they're not afraid to do. And what this does is forces the other side to work on things outside of the traditional looks. And at the same time, I think Alabama's just going to get better and better at the more traditional run plays and things that we think of as normal but still very effective within the flow of your offense.
So Alabama, an emotional win against Georgia, and we saw that a year ago. That was at home. Then Alabama went on the road to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt, and here we are. It's similar this year. It's the same opponent, but obviously Vanderbilt off to a good start. But how do you feel like Alabama is going to approach this game, given the lessons of a year ago?
I think they'll be better prepared, but they've got to be, because Vandy's good. Take last year out of the equation. They're good. Second time in 80 years that a Vanderbilt team has started 5-0. Frankly, most years at Alabama, what does 5-0 mean? It means week 6 is coming next. It's expected. But only twice in 80 years puts into context what Clark Lee has done. Now, have they played Murderer's Row? No, but they've played who Vanderbilt should play, and they've looked really good against who Vandy's played. But you look at them, and yes, we know that Pavia is really good. We learned that, sadly, last year, and not just against us, against many other teams as well. But, man, they've got speed. They've got linemen who've got some size but can run, very athletic. This is a good football team. If this team was wearing any other number of uniforms, if these players were wearing uniforms from some other teams around the league, we wouldn't blink an eye. But because it's Vandy, I don't think we necessarily initially give them enough credit. But this team, I guarantee you, this team has Alabama's attention It's got the nation's attention. I mean, for crying out loud, you got game day coming to Tuscaloosa for a matchup with Vandy. You know, we've had some primetime games over the years with Vanderbilt, and just candidly, that was a way that Vanderbilt was going to get their contractually obligated opportunity to be on network TV, but it was really putting Bama on there. And you knew it may not be a very competitive game, but they fulfilled the contract. Game day is here. Yes, it's Alabama. Yes, we'll put on a great show, everything leading to kickoff, but Vandy's worthy of it. And I think the unique storyline for the viewers around the country and maybe within the SEC is pretty special. But from a game standpoint, Alabama absolutely turned their attention very, very quickly from Athens back to Bryant-Denny, knowing that a very good Commodore squad's coming to town.
Final thought on today. You mentioned College Game Day, and of course, you were the longtime host of the Nick Saban television show. Just how much have you enjoyed the last couple of years getting to watch him move into that TV role full time with Game Day, and even almost dressed like you today in the full white at the White House at Penn State last week?
Exactly. Let me tell you, I was emceeing his luncheon for the Knicks kids, or I guess it was the post golf tournament awards deal, something I've been flattered he would ask me to do, or Miss Terry would over the years. He didn't care if I was there or not, but I joked with him in front of everybody else. There were so many times that Nick Saban would come into that post-game TV show after he talked to the media, and I wasn't even in that room for the press conference. But he would come up and he would complain about what had been asked or what had been said. And he would turn and look at me. Well, again, when I wasn't even in the press conference, he would turn and look at me and make a reference about, and you damn media guys. And I wasn't in there. I didn't do that. I'm your guy. I'm not media. So as I told him, it gives me great joy to watch now and realize that Nick Saban is a damn media guy. He's a really good one. He's and we're not at all shocked. I mean, the segments that on the TV show that got the most attention were when he would go up in front of that video board and have our play of the game. And Coach DeBoer does that with his show, but it was so new for people to see Nick Saban behind the curtain, if you will, and in his element with the clicker in hand and drawing up the play on the screen. And that's an element that Reese, I gladly defer and get out of his way because it's far better with Reese doing it. But Reese with Coach Saban in their game day segment, breaking things down and I mean, it's watching a scientist in his laboratory. I mean, it's an amazing thing to see. He's great at it. Not at all surprised that it's going as well as it is for him. He's being himself, and as we know, who he is brilliant, engaging when he wants to be, and pretty dang funny at times as well.
He really is. Can't wait to have Game Day back in town this weekend. Well, Chris, I know busy week for you coming up with Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show Wednesday night, and then everything with the festivities starting outside Vector Security Champions Lane coming up on Saturday as well. Just all the best, and hopefully next week we're talking about another Crimson Tide win. But thank you for your time. Roll Tide.
Always, buddy. Roll Tide.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition, and triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Fun conversation with Chris Stewart, especially talking about Coach Saban at the end with College Game Day. Look forward to Game Day being in town coming up on Saturday. Somebody else that's coming back to Tuscaloosa this weekend, a College Football Hall of Famer, E.J. Jr., a standout defensive end for the Crimson Tide in his playing career, playing for legendary head coach Paul Bear Bryant. Then he went on to play in the NFL for over a decade as a first-round pick of the, at the time, St. Louis Cardinals. But E.J. Jr., a great ambassador for the University of Alabama throughout all of his years, recognized in 2020 as a College Football Hall of Famer. He's one of our honorary captains this week, and he joins us on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
E.J. Jr., a College Football Hall of Famer and a national champion 2 times at the University of Alabama, joining us now. And E.J., it is great to see you. How's everything going for you as you get ready to come to Tuscaloosa this weekend?
Well, it's going pretty good. It's a quiet week for us. I'm a college coach at Clark Atlanta University. I work with the linebackers and the D line, and it's a bye week for us. So I'm lucky that we have this bye week to be able to come home to Tuscaloosa and be a part of the University of Alabama experience, especially against Vanderbilt, since that's my hometown.
Yeah, and revenge on the mind of everybody for Alabama coming up this year after we didn't enjoy the trip to your hometown last year too much, EJ.
Well, I know Coach DeBoer's first time getting a chance to go play against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has always been a headache to Alabama. No matter how many times we've beaten them, it's never been an easy game. And they're going to be just as stout. They got an awesome quarterback coming back this year. And Alabama's playing a little bit better now that they've gotten past the Florida State drama. But they still need to work on some things. And I'm sure Coach DeBoer is trying to get the guys ready for that.
Yeah, sticking on this team for just a moment, what'd you like most about the Saturday win at Georgia?
That the fact that they were able to compete for 4 quarters and not give in. There were times that could have fallen apart when Georgia started trying to come back a little bit to make the game close. But they held their ground. They played good, sound defense. I knew the second their offensive wide receivers could exploit Georgia's secondary. And that was a big factor, but they had to continue to play strong defense to hold on to maintain the win.
So it's good to see the win for the Crimson Tide. Now, again, Alabama and Vanderbilt coming up this week. But for you, we want to go all the way back and hear about your journey to the capstone. First of all, you tell us you grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. When did Alabama enter in the recruiting picture for you to sign with the Tide?
Oh, wow. That was basically during my high school career, my senior year. I remember I was doing some matter of fact, I was doing some trigonometry homework, and Coach Bryant called. My mother, who's a retired high school principal, answered the phone. And as she was speaking, he said, well, may I speak to E.J. Jr.? And she said, which one? And she says, E.J. Jr. the third or E.J. Jr. Jr.? And Coach Bryant said, the one that plays football. Oh, you want E.J. the third? So she kind of looked over her glasses and says, my nickname is Jimmy. She said, Jimmy, Coach Bryant wants to speak to you. I said, Paul Bear Bryant? She said, yes. I said, I don't want to talk to that man. And the reason being, I grew up in a time where George Wallace says a black man would never walk on that campus. And she looked over her glasses and talked to, you know how moms talk to their teachers, says, you're going to talk to this man. So when I got on the phone, he said, this is Coach Paul Bear Bryant. I know you've heard some good things about Alabama, EJ, and some negative things, but I'm going to promise you 2 things. I said, what is that, Coach? He says, if you come to the University of Alabama, you're going to get a quality education. Now, I have a pretty good academic record. I was a 3.9 GPA in my 30s in my ACT. And I said, well, I can get that anywhere in my mind. I didn't say it out loud. I said, well, what's the second thing, Coach? He says, if you come to Alabama, I'm going to work your tail off. And that got my attention. I said, keep talking, Coach, because he didn't promise me that I would play, start, be all SEC or anything. He was challenging my work ethic. And that kind of started the ball rolling with the University of Alabama. Coach Ken Donahue was the guy who basically recruited me the most. And when it was all said and done, I ended up at the University of Alabama.
And from there, you had a legendary career. What can you tell us about the hard work you had to put in, especially as a freshman, as a young player, to make sure you got on the field and contributed?
Well, the irony of it is I didn't even think I would even play my freshman year. They had guys like Barry Crouch, Rich Wingo, Dewey Mitchell. They had brought in Randy Scott from Georgia. So there was Rick Gillian. So you had a great group of linebackers. Paul Crane was the linebacker coach, and I think we were in a inside drill, one day, and I hit Johnny Davis, not once but twice. But the third time I hit him, I think I knocked myself out. and Coach Bryant had to figure out how we were going to get this young man on the field. So that kind of gave me an opportunity to play my freshman year, and I got moved around to different positions and my first game that I started was against Vanderbilt, my freshman year. And that's after we had lost to Nebraska. Actually, my defensive coordinator was on that team, L.C. Coles. And I talked about it and said, man, it was a lot of red and white. You couldn't hear a pin drop when we scored, but when they scored, you couldn't hear me talking to you right now. But it took a lot of hard work because, going from being a freshman playing against some grown men in college was a whole different experience. But the one thing Coach Bryant always instilled in us was a work ethic. And you learned that from day one. It was a no nonsense. It was a very tough grind. But the biggest thing is that it was a team. It was always that team concept. Everybody kept pushing you to do better. You always pushed, even when you competed against guys who could possibly take your job. It was still a competition, but we still helped one another.
Certainly did. And again, you had a legendary career at Alabama. I believe only lost 4 games during your time there. And then a pair of national championships as well. What made those championship teams special, especially getting those wins in the Sugar Bowl?
Well, every win in the Sugar Bowl was a wonderful one. There were 3 of them, and unfortunately, they kind of jobbed us on the first one when they jumped Texas from Notre Dame from 5th to 1st when they beat Texas. We beat a good Ohio State team. So if 1 loss, 2 loss, 3 should go from 3 to 1 to the 1st, but they jumped Notre Dame above us. It was anytime you win a national championship, that's an accomplishment. It's not just an individual accomplishment; it's a team accomplishment. We had great guys. When you think about those guys who played, I played with Ozzie Newsome and Johnny Davis and Jack O'Rear, and those guys never got a chance to win that national championship my freshman year. We're going on with Stedman Shealy, who I understand is going to be one of the honorary captains. Rutledge, Randy Scott, Major Ogilvy, Don McNeil, Dwight Steve. I played with some great guys who knew how to win. And we came together, we competed against each other, we hung out together, we got in trouble together at times. But most of the things that we did was always together. You would see the Alabama football team running around campus, working in that lower gym. All those things not only helped us on the field, but developed us as young men off the field.
Especially off the field, how did lessons you learned as a player of Coach Bryant impact the rest of your life?
Well, Coach Bryant was a mentor. He was a father figure. He was a disciplinarian. He always basically put things in perspective of how football works with life. And those 2 comparisons are the same things that I use as a foundation to teach these guys that I coach now. Every footballer can teach you how to overcome adversity. Football teaches you how to push yourself when you don't think that you can do it. The lessons we try to teach these young men, when you get into the real world, there are going to be days that you don't feel like going to work, but you have to get up and do it. There are times that you have to feed your kids, and you have to go out there and do your best regardless. You have to, find a way to make one. And in that, those concepts are learned from discipline. You have to be disciplined to be a championship athlete. And in those things, it carries over into life.
It really does. And for you, you leave Alabama, you go to the NFL, first-round draft pick, and play over a decade in the league. What are you most proud of from your NFL days?
Just that fact that I was able to play in the NFL for that long a period of time. I was blessed with the ability to play. I remember Sylvester Croom, who was my position coach, who went on to be the head coach at Mississippi State at one point in time, and later went into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame a couple of years after I did. He always basically talked about my ability to possibly play and get drafted in the NFL. And I always questioned him that. I said, well, he said, if you keep working the way you are, you're going to be a #1 draft choice. I said, of what? And he said, the NFL. I said, I'm not able to play in the NFL, coach. Those guys are good. He says, well, did you play with Don McNeil, Dwight Stevenson, Ozzie Newsome, Barry Krause? I said, yeah. He said, those guys either went first or second round in the NFL. What makes you think you can't play with them? And that was a very, very interesting statement because I was competing with a young man who ended up being a good friend of mine named Hugh Green. Because he told me, he said, if you want to be an All-American, you got to be as good as this guy. And that was the driving force. But we had some great defensive ends who played with us too. Mike Pitts, Wayne Hamilton, Gary De Niro, John Morrow, all those guys who played with me, John Knox, all those guys pushed me day in and day out to be the best I could be. And then when you're playing with defensive linemen like Byron Braggs, Curtis McGriff, David Hanna, Marty Lyons, we were a good group of guys who knew how to play, and we were disciplined in what we were doing. So my experience in the NFL was a fun one. I got a chance to be a kid for 13 years, and get paid to be a kid. And that was a wonderful experience. And a lot of these guys on the team now don't even know that I played in the NFL. And because they said, Coach, you played in the NFL? I said, yeah. He says, and you were number one draft choice? And I said, yes. And it's amazing to me because I don't talk about it. That's something I did. That's not who I am. And I'm blessed that God gave me the ability to play that long. But I really want to teach these young men the game that God gave me the ability to play for so long and I love.
And how meaningful has it been since your playing career came to a close? You go into ministry, you go into coaching, you get to pour into others like you talked about, Coach Bryant, Coach Kroom, Coach Donahue. They poured into you when you were a young man. How meaningful has it been to be on the other side of that now?
Wow, it's a great feeling. And because the Bible says, even when everybody talks about the 23rd Psalms, he says, "Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over." What God does with us, He's constantly pouring His anointing, pouring your talent into the ideologies, your visions, your dreams into you, to a point where all the stuff that you're doing wrong will eventually come out. So as much as God is pouring into you, those negative things come out until the things that God wants you to do begin to come out. And I try to instill that in these young men because a lot of us are going through a lot of stuff in this world, be it right, wrong, or indifference, politics, the internet, cell phones. But we got to continue to pour a positive mentality, a positive attitude. And the one thing I always try to tell them, you can look at your phones all day, which keeps you looking down. But as long as you look up to the mountains from which your help coming from, God always gives you a way to make a way out of through any circumstances. And so in that times and days, the things that were pouring into me as a young man, as a child with my parents, I try to pour into these young men so they can become the foundation in the household that God has purposed them to be.
That's an amazing message. Well, EJ, we can't wait to have you back in Tuscaloosa coming up this weekend as one of our honorary captains. Just safe travels and all the best to you and your college team down the road as well. But thank you for your time. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Hey, my name is Jan Miller, here with Christian Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Appreciate the time of EJ Jr. Look forward to celebrating him, plus fellow honorary captain Stedman Shealy coming up on Saturday for Alabama against Vanderbilt. For the Crimson Tide Sports Network, we always start our week of programming with Crimson Tide Rewind, Monday nights from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Fun, festive atmosphere, as always, for that show. But last night, Tyler Watts gave a lot of thoughts on the win we saw against Georgia and what to expect from Alabama against Vanderbilt. The full video show replay is available on demand on our CTSN YouTube page. You can listen on the Alabama Insider podcast, but this is really the best of from everything last night and something we like to call Be Kind, Crimson Tide Rewind. Tyler, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Always nice to talk to you on a Monday night, especially when the Tide rolls in Athens.
I tell you what, it was a fun little road trip, wasn't it? And it's something that over the last, year or so, ever since the LSU game last season, that the road has not been friendly to Alabama. But all the progress they've made over the previous weeks, they were able to travel, load it up on the bus, unload it, and open up a can on the Georgia Bulldogs.
We certainly like that. 24-21 ends up being the final score. Crimson Tide are able to jump out in front 7-0. Once again, an opening drive touchdown for this Ryan Grubb offense.
Incredibly impressive, especially the length and the number of third down conversions they were able to convert throughout the entire first half. I mean, Ty Simpson, he has been playing really well, but to be able to go on the road and continue that without a hiccup was just unbelievable. How accurate in his anticipation of where his receivers were going to be and his knowledge of where the defense was trying to get to and what they were trying to take away. He was throwing in such tight windows. And initially, I was talking about it today with somebody. Initially, I thought, well, hey, we just had him so confused that's how the receivers were getting so open. No, he was throwing some dimes. I mean, he was dropping it in there, anticipating where they were going to be, putting it where it needed to be, and giving them an opportunity to advance it after the catch. But overall, just keeping that Georgia defense off balance. I mean, it was a a masterpiece.
It certainly was for the Crimson Tide. And again, there were so many questions after week one, after Florida State started to get some answers against ULM and Wisconsin. How nice was it to see this kind of response against a quality opponent like
It's
Georgia?
great. And from the standpoint of, you're able to jump out 14-0. Georgia makes a little push, but then you respond right before halftime, driving the length of the field with 2 minutes to go. Not having any timeouts was, I think, the most impressive thing. And it was the screenplay, the big chunk plays through the air, and then getting down inside the red zone and then able to put it in the end zone right before half and to go up, 17-7 or 24-7 at that point, wasn't it? But then flipping the script in the defense, something that's kind of been a little bit of a struggle. Boy, when their backs were against the wall, they bowed up and got the stops in the second half. Yeah, Georgia moved the ball. They controlled the clock a little bit more than they did in the first half, but we got the stops when we needed them, forced the punts, and then offense obviously able to run the clock out.
Tide talked a lot about the offense so far against Georgia. How about the defense, especially, Tyler, not allowing Georgia to get off to a good start? That was one of our keys to the game.
Forcing a 3-and-out was huge. That crowd was amped. They were ready to go and have something to cheer about. They felt confident all day going into that ball game. You send your offense out there, and it's a 1-yard gain on run right between the tackles. We shut them down. Gunnar Stockton misses an open receiver on the edge, and then he scrambles or something or throws almost an interception to Deontay Lawson. Now they're punting, and then we go on that 6-minute march. They didn't have an answer early on. They could not get in a rhythm. And then we had the ball, so they're sitting over on the sideline, and our defense is fresh and ready to go as well. So they played incredible. But like we talked about, in that second half, they were awesome. Gave up a couple of big plays, didn't keep containment. Much better job up front of run gap integrity, making sure you weren't really opening up huge holes. There was a couple times we had some breakdowns, and Georgia was able to take advantage of that. But I see improvement on that side. And that was important because of who we play this week. And that's what you wanted to see, though. So when things are starting to kind of unravel, how do you respond? How do you answer the bell? And in the fourth quarter, we held Georgia scoreless for the final 21 or 22 minutes of that ball game.
Really good to see. And we talked about Jam Miller coming back. How about Tim Keenan III making his return and anchoring that Crimson Tide defensive line?
I thought he did a great job up front, made a couple of tackles, got a pressure on the quarterback and a sack, I believe. But he was where he needed to be, and he wasn't allowing the center and guards to really work up to the second level, which was important. You want to keep those offensive linemen from being able to get downfield and get bodies. That way you can get in there and clog up the holes, because linebackers don't really know which way it's going. They got two responsibilities, and they have to be able to react. You can't have offensive linemen running interference for them. So Tim Keenan, having him, especially with the loss of Quay Russaw and James Smith in that game, you needed all bodies up there.
Here we are again, a huge emotional win against Georgia, and now Vandy's right after that.
Feels completely different, though, because last year you're coming off an emotional win where you're really having to hold on, and we didn't finish that game strong. And we probably thought we were a little better than we actually were. As soon as these guys walked off the field, it was attention Vanderbilt. They are focused on this game right now, and they're going to be locked in, ready to go. And it's going to be important, especially on the defensive side, because we struggled so much with them of being able to get off of the field. This is a Vanderbilt offense that prides itself. They're big up front. They love to run the football, but it's not a traditional I formation. A lot of movement, a lot of trickery that goes on between the tackles. And Diego Pavia does a really nice job behind the ball, so you never really know where it's going to be. So it's not about you as a defender watching and trying to make a play. It's about you doing your job, running your assignment to the best that you possibly can, and just winning your box. Christian Miller used to always talk about win your box and let everybody else worry about winning their own box. It's going to be incredibly important, though, the fact that you don't have James Smith for the first half of this ball game. For younger guys, Kelby Collins, Jordan Renard, who stepped up and did a really nice job, Isaiah Faga, these guys have got to step in and fill that hole, that role that James Smith and Jamarian Latham and Quay Russaw kind of held throughout the course leading up to this point. They have got to play good up front, set the edge, not allow that offensive line to be able to spread you out sideline to sideline and creating large holes. Alabama has to win on first and second down. You force this Vandy in third and long, that's not where they want to live. And we caught him on a red-hot moment last year where he was like Ty Simpson last week versus Georgia, could not miss. He ain't going to have that type of game, though, I hope, again. Rico. You got to force him in 3rd and long and find a way to get off the field.
Yeah, Vandy running the ball extremely well, averaging 223 yards on the ground. That's second best in the SEC so far this year. Now, their schedule, they've gone on the road and won at Virginia Tech, but their probably most notable win went on the road to South Carolina, posted a dominant victory against the Gamecocks.
Owned South Carolina. And that was the South Carolina defense last season. That was one of the better ones in the conference. And they went up and down the field. And anytime the game got a little bit tight, they just didn't care. They just went right back down and scored. They're better than they were last year. They really are. And I think when these players and coaches put this game film on, you're not going to have anybody taking them lightly. They understand what this offense is capable of doing, the limited number of possessions you're probably going to have offensively. So you can't afford turnovers, and you have to strike when you get an opportunity. And when you get touchdown opportunities, you got to catch the ball, you got to take advantage of it, and you got to put points up.
And how refreshing is it that this Alabama team, again, turnovers really hurt against Vandy last year, but so far this group, knock on wood.
Don't say so far. What are you doing, man?
Well, Ty Simpson has really taken care of the football well. How about that?
He has done a nice job, and he will continue to process and understand what the defense is doing. We're more dynamic on the edge and the perimeters than we were a year ago as well. So offensively, I'm not concerned. We're going to put points up on the board. We're going to find ways to score, and we just got to keep the pressure on them to constantly have to answer.
And again, it's a talented running style from Diego Pavia. He is their leading rusher so far this season. Is it pretty similar to what Tommy Castellanos tried to do against Alabama week 1?
There are some similarities. He's not near as dynamic. He's not near as fast or quick in the pocket, but he still has a knack for making guys miss. But his game is not breaking you down and running it for 40 yards. It's getting 5 or 6 yards and putting them in 2nd and 4, and then they can do it again. And then on 3rd down, when it's 3rd and 6, he pulls it down, makes one guy miss in the open field, gets a first down, just keeps the chains going, which is why it's important. If you're able to get a lead, make it a 2-score lead, make it a 3-score lead, because now they can't play ball control, keep away football. They have to ramp up their offense, and that's not the style that they want to play.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition, and triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Always enjoy our Monday nights with Tyler Watts at Baumhower's in Vestavia Hills for Crimson Tide Rewind. As I mentioned, that starts our week of programming on the network. Let's see what else is coming up as we get ready for Saturday. Tomorrow night, we're going to be at Baumhower's here in Tuscaloosa for Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show presented by Alpha Insurance. 6 p.m. the start time with Chris Stewart hosting the show. Look forward to hearing from Kalen DeBoer at Baumhower's thoughts on the Georgia win and looking ahead towards Vanderbilt. We'll be back with this show coming up on Thursday afternoon, Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR, streaming live on all of our social media platforms, including in conversation with Crimson Tide defensive lineman Edric Hill. So we look forward to that coming up on Thursday. And then plenty to get you ready for Alabama football on Saturday. Alabama against Vanderbilt. 2:30 will be the kickoff time. Our coverage on the network starts at 11:30 a.m. We're going to be live on stage at the Bud Light Backyard inside Vector Security Champions Lane. College Game Day wraps up at 11 o'clock. Make your way over to Vector Security Champions Lane right after that. We're going to have a great party getting ready for Alabama against Vandy. Don't forget the booth cam presented by Regions Bank will also be streaming live as well all throughout the Crimson Tide and the Commodores 2025. Then we'll have the Kalen DeBoer television show on Sunday, Crimson Tide Rewind after that. Again, a full week of programming coming up. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms at UA_CTSN for the very latest, including apps like TikTok, Instagram for some interview clips, booth cam highlights. That's a great place to catch that content. And make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, turn notifications on so you won't miss anything from the Crimson Tide Sports Network. It's going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. A huge thank you to all of our guests on a very busy show, starting with Rico Scott, Chris Stewart, EJ Jr., Tyler Watts with his time last night, and then the booth cam highlights presented by Regions Bank, all produced by, and this show produced by, Ethan Carabin. Putting it all together, we appreciate Ethan and his fine work on Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. For all of us with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thanks for stopping by on this Tuesday afternoon. We'll see you later in the week as we get ready for Alabama against Vanderbilt. Roll Tide, everyone.
send this one straight over to your QB right now.
First off, how about that Crimson Tide? Yeah!